Okay. How does it sound today? Right now I am not behaving. I have coffee instead of water, but I'll correct that in a little bit. Okay, so yesterday, this mess. So we have an opportunity to tackle. Oh no, garbage truck outside. I apologize if anything comes across the microphone. We have the opportunity to tackle, if there's a different way of solving the problem by changing something, we should do that, right? We don't have to necessarily just make it fit. And it's one thing that is oftentimes challenging for developers, because, if you're coming to a system and you are not comfortable with it, or you're not super experienced, the simplest thing is often to make the least amount of change to solve the problem. But by doing that, you can introduce more problems because you're scared to change the actual code that's there. So I don't want to count that out. Now, this might be possible, right? I might be able to figure this out. I could pre-cache these things. Mr. Jones, good afternoon. How you doing? What is that? Twitch is not behaving today at all. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted there. So I could pre-cache the time zones. So I have a lookup of this information. Right. I could get a list of the distinct time zones from preferences and cache them. That might be quicker. That way I don't have to add this entire query just to get this information, right? I could do it that way. And that's probably going to be a little clearer. I could break that out as a method. And then this may work. But the problem is the preferences. So preferences are still going to be a challenge. But now I could include preferences as they stand, because then I could use the time zone ID. So maybe that's the way we start with this, right? Tackle it that direction first. And yeah, so var time zones, time zone lookup equals from P in context.preferences. We're not going for that, right? Boom. Follow the channel. Thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. Rambling Geek, good afternoon. How you doing? So we're going to just do to dictionary that. K goes to K dot time zone ID. K goes to, and then we're going to do, this is the value. Ooh, yeah, smart people. Findle's arrived. The average IQ of the challenge just dropped by 50. Hi, Findle. How you doing? If you don't know, by the way, Findle is another .NET dev. Does application development. Also cool stuff, payment gateways and stuff like that. So very worth checking out. I forget that sometimes our worlds kind of overlap in different places, but not too bad. According to Apple Watch, I got 7 hours of sleep last night. Nice. To quote a character from Fallout 1, with all points removed from int and added to strength. Bleh. Fallout 1. I've only played that once. It's quite a different experience when you started with Fallout 3. Actually, Fallout 4 was the first game I actually played on my own. I'm okay. How are you? I'm doing good today. Feeling positive. The co-star is very nice. Thank you. Well, we're going to try and improve this bit by bit. So, if we have a dictionary, that's all time zones, but it's better to do this than it is to try and do this massive query right now, right? Sorry, I just sent my wife a birthday gift hint. Which ended up playing Grand Total about 10 minutes of all Fallouts in total. Yeah, I played a lot of Fallout 4. But my problem is with those games is so much of a time investment, and I didn't start playing them until I was older, so I didn't play them as a kid when I had plenty of time, right? So, yeah. Okay, so now we don't need to necessarily do... Benesian, welcome. I've been playing Skyrim lately, that is a time sink. Yeah, I get distracted too easily. Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. So why don't we do this? So we have to calculate current date for each person, because, like, again, if the times if we're requesting this now in UTC, today could be yesterday for them, right? The funny thing about time. So I think I'm like 4 or 5 steps into the main story, and I'm level 50. You've been grinding a little bit. Yeah, my goal, my goal would be to I want to get these projects done. That's why I'm kind of so focused on doing stuff like this now. Is I really want to keep myself focused on the development, keep building the skills, get to a point where I can earn a really good salary, or break out on my own, and be able to retire a little earlier, or be able to cut back on my hours because I've earned enough money, and play more games. Get through that game collection, because it's getting bigger and I'm not getting any younger, and I'd love to sit and play all the games. Yeah, I'm solo. I think I'm able to retire 4 or 5 years earlier than standard right now. Yeah. Yep. So I'm putting all my heart and effort into dev right this second, trying to burst through that. Yeah. That's my challenge. I know if I step out on my own, I've obviously taken on an extra stress that I'm not sure I could cope with. Yeah. Once, twice per year. Save it up. So for those just joining, by the way, this project is a viewer-friendly project. If you follow the link, the water link, right? This is all open source. The idea of this project is not one of productivity necessarily. It's of discussion, of contribution. So it's there if you want to check it out. If you're not comfortable with the way, how Git works, etc., you can use this to practice on. You're more than welcome to go and take the code and just go and tinker with it on your own. You can fork the code and make pull requests back and kind of practice that thing. The idea is that it's a project that we build together on stream. I never work on this off stream. It's all done on stream. So if there's any questions or thoughts, or you want to, you need something demonstrating, we can use the same code base, and use that to demonstrate off of. So, it's there to contribute to. So this is the project I work on Monday and Tuesdays on the stream. The game discussion, my name is TBD Gamer. I do love video games as well, so I have no issues with video game discussion, for certain. And yeah. And the other project I work on is a little larger, a little bit more. It's closed source, but I do a lot of development on distributed system stuff, and use a lot of different technologies, Wednesday through Friday. So, yeah, a lot of variety. I can't imagine going back to working for someone else again. I kind of think about it all the time. Want a question opinion thing combined all in one about the code with a link syntax there? Absolutely. Link to SQL syntax doesn't execute the query before you enumerate it. You can easily split that into multiple pieces instead of having one massive statement like that. Yes, yeah. So, yeah, good point. So, what I'm trying to consider right now is what I can enumerate and what I can't. The problem is this will not convert to SQL, so I have to keep this outside of the SQL component, right? I have to have this enumerated first, so that's what I'm doing. Right. I think 2Dictionary enumerates, but we'll find out in a second. Line 63, yeah. What I was about to do is, what I'm considering right now is this piece, right? I don't actually need this query now, because I can just use this query with this. So I'm considering what I want to do with this, whether I want to make a tuple here, or I want to, because then I've calculated that, I've pre-calculated this for the time zone. Yeah, we're going to clean this up for certain. You can use include on that one, yeah. But so the issue is this time zone stuff is the pain in the backside because it's kind of out of link. So what I'm trying to do here is actually, because I've got all the individual methods for building this information up, what I'm trying to do is make it a query so that I have the obvious speed of, staying within SQL. Ultimately, what I'm looking for, by the way, the shape of what I'm looking for is probably something like this public class group result. I'm going to call it result for right now. That might trigger some people. Nice opinion string A, string B, my var equals whatever is much cleaner than tuple classes. Gets compared to the same thing. Yeah. So we have a group ID, public string name, then public IEnumerable of. Oh, Phil Snabble, by the way. My apologies, I didn't say hello. And Decidius, sorry, I've just been watching you chat and not said hello at all. My apologies. I think my generation will not be able to retire. What clean mean in relationship to code? Clean is and then members here, just for the sake of, I'm not going to build this class right this second, but members is public class, member result is public int ID, public string name, public int progress. So this is the percentage progress for that person. Also, if you expose any kind of tuple outside a class, I love you. I will find you and I will look you in the eyes in a very disappointed way. Yeah, I'd only be using a tuple here for a data transfer. Like just literally, I'm creating an anonymous object to use to map. That's it. But I don't want to build a class here. That's why I was like pausing. So we could do. Can you do? Is it? How do you label tuples? Can you do an anonymous tuple like that? Because that's kind of what I want to do. And that's K again. I've got to call it twice there. I just don't want to do item 1, item 2. There's a way of labeling tuples, right? Or can I do that with an anonymous thing like that? Hours, date. And I could make an anonymous object. Yeah, true. But what I'm doing there, how do I use it? Time zone offset hours. That is true. But what I'm doing there, current date equals. No, not that one. That's that. Yeah, that works. Yeah, like I was doing elsewhere, yeah. Okay, so now I don't need to do this specifically. I can join context.preferences directly on user ID. I've got to fix that. So again, this code base is not meant to be an example code base. And by the way, Boom, you actually did say something before. It would be great to have a demo video posted above. A demo video of what, by the way? Sorry, I meant to. I'm focused on this one thing, and then I'm losing track. So I do apologize. A demo video of the project, or to kind of go along with how it works. So every single video, every single stream for this project is on YouTube, by the way. It's in a playlist, Water Drink Water playlist, which today's stream will be. So YouTube, every time you start a new stream, completely forgets the categorization, but it remembers all the other things. So it's kind of annoying. But now I can use this lookup to get let current day equals time zone lookup e dot time zone ID time ID date time info, and then we need offset hours, current date, and then preferences dot target fluid ounces. So considering I want that object out, and I want that object out because basically the they tried to deliver my new PC today, even though I filled out their form the day before stating I wanted to deliver it on Friday. So that was annoying. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to work through my backlog. I'm currently posting videos from the spring of 2023. Yeah. So YouTube is something that I need to get better at. I need to, the stuff I do on the stream that I definitely think has value. And I need to make some dedicated videos. And I did a little poll, and I mean, only 6 people responded, but most of them responded with they'd like to see more like tutorial style content. I find it easy to chat. I find it easy to answer questions. I find it easy to discuss, but I don't find it easy to make specific content and, stay within the limits of the content I kind of run. I sat down and just threw out ideas for videos, articles, whatever. I just stopped at 110. Yeah. I love the streaming format. I think it gives a lot of opportunity to discuss and to debate and yeah. Maybe 75 of those might actually be able to turn into something. No, I just need to do something with that. Streaming is great. Yeah. Yep. And for me, streaming right now kind of is actually providing a professional outlet as well, and I treat the stream as a professional piece. Like the language is kept PG, and even though the company I work in right now, you wouldn't think so. But I do kind of treat it as a professional outlet, and this is my interaction with developers who care, right? If you're sat watching this stream, it's because you're looking for this sort of content or supporting me, but also you're a professional that engages in the same way, and it's the kind of people I want to be around, So streaming is that kind of, it's serving multiple purposes for me right now. I streamed for almost 11 years. It's fun as long as you enjoy what you do. Yeah, I mean, I've had wobbles. I've taken large chunks of time off. Yeah. I'm just here to remind you how much you secretly love PHP. One day we'll do a PHP stream, and you won't like it. Yeah, but it should I do Perl? I had diverting a little bit. I had a boss in my first job, and now when I look back on him, I really appreciate just how good of a boss he was. But at the time, I didn't. I was like, he's kind of creepy, he's kind of weird, right? And he loved Perl, and he wrote he was a big train enthusiast. Him and a group of friends actually bought a train and a section of track, and actually on weekends would go and get on the train and ride it up and down the section of track, right? But he was so fascinated with this one area of the country, the train system. He actually, in Perl, wrote a screensaver that actually modeled the train timetable and actually had trains running and stopping and lights and gates and all sorts in Perl. So when he stepped away from his desk, the screensaver would come up and it would be this train simulation. I mean, it's fascinating, and this is 2001. But yeah, I forbid a PHP stream. Here's a PHP challenge. Add all numbers together from 1 to 1000 that's divisible by 3 or 5. I still hit Perl above all other things, even hazelnuts, and I really like to like hazelnut. That's just called Fizzbuzz. Shh. That's wild. Yeah. I mean, so now I look back on his management style and I realize that as creepy as he could be at times, he really did know how to look after his team and respect his team. And I kind of model myself to some extent on him now, because he was with hindsight a really good manager. Okay, so I've got the groups, I've got the memberships, I've got the preferences, and I've now avoided hitting this same group twice. Yeah, I'll do it. Array filter. Nice. So now we have the groups, we have the memberships, we have the preferences pulled in for each member. We now have the, so if we get the, what's the right way to transform this model? Worry about that in a second. Oh, I can't do it that way. Idiot. Anonymous object. I'd have to create a new class just for that. Unfortunately, my chat disconnected, so you have to send it again. Pearl. So I don't... Oh no, ad breaks. Apologies if you're in ads. Let's try and get this model first, and then we'll worry about the cleanup. I'm not using ChatGPT, using. As long as you're actually confident that it's actually real, then we'll trust you. So I could break this up into two queries. I mean, essentially what this is, I don't want to mess around with group buys and stuff. That's the problem. I'm trying to avoid group buys and things like that. If I do this, I'm going to end up with, I need to like group it by group ID name. What I could do is switch this out and do something like bar results equals from G in context.groups. Take that part. Oh, it's still got to join memberships. That's going to get too many results anyway. Then I have to do distinct. I do look forward to getting my PC on Friday, but nice to get started on Unreal Engine again. Yeah, I can't imagine right now, like when I was in my early 20s, I was more focused on going out and going to clubs and stuff. And I didn't really take buying PC hardware very seriously. And then a friend of mine actually bought me, because I was showing him a PC I built. He's like, why do you always go for the cheapest possible thing? It's like, because I don't want to spend tons of money on it. So he bought me a decent motherboard, decent CPU, everything like that. And it kind of changed the way I looked at the PC, because the cheap stuff, you know, I was breaking it. It was not working very well. And I kind of just decided at that point, I'll just continue respecting him and honoring that investment from him, because he bought me the PC. He's a very good friend. So since then, I've always made sure that I just spend. It sounds like someone I know. It's like your friend. He also bought me an Xbox 360 when I moved over to the US as well, so I could still play games with him. By the way, he actually had it because I had to give up my console collection, or most of my console collection. My PS3. The ironic thing is that the PS3 was the only thing I actually boxed up because I didn't want to lose the PS3, and the PS3 was the one thing that wouldn't work here. But if I'd have brought my 360, I would have. Oh no, I didn't have a 360 at that point. So he bought me an Xbox 360 and got it delivered to the house, and so I could still play games with him. I mean, slightly selfish. I was still playing games, but you know, with him. But he still bought me the 360, and I still have that one. How about int sum or some cd out sum of ornamental line one line enjoy. Not even using namespace. What is this? Ooh. Talking of games, I have games being delivered today, apparently. Yeah, okay. I gotta figure out how to shape this data. That's decided you are linking and put asterisks, by the way. Without knowing, you said move to the US. Where were you from? I'm from the UK originally. And I've been an American for 15 years. 15. Wow, 15 years, yeah. Because I've been here 17 years this year. Hold on, Lindell. I don't mind the. I wish Twitch would group things more. What's the not moderation? Monetization settings, view rewards, community roles manager. That's what I want. Hold on, Findle. There you go. You should now be able to get away with posting something that looks like a link. Everything, the single line version, and here's without any includes. Just put asterisks on the screen. You have citizenship and everything. Yeah. I believe that if I'm going to move to a country, I'm not. No, they didn't show up. Well, I've given you VIP, so you should get away with it now. You shouldn't treat it as links. There you go. That's better. At least you can link it. You wouldn't even be allowed to link it if you weren't VIP either. So that's better. Okay. Took that as a challenge, right? Oh wow. So it's funny. I've got I use StreamerBot. So the other week I was struggling with YouTube and Twitch chat, and StreamerBot has the chat, and it actually does work to combine the two. So thank you, Mr. Jones, for that again. And my Twitch chat doesn't show the what is it, a 7TV emote? The GG? It just shows G__G, but the actual chat window shows the actual clapping hands. That's pretty cool. Oh no, it doesn't. But it shows clap. That's one. G_G is there, but the clap is showing. So that's pretty cool. It ate me a little bit, if I'm honest. Out of curiosity, are UK recruitment companies intentionally obnoxious? I'm afraid that my experience with UK recruitment companies only stopped around 2005. So I'm a little out of date on that one. But the ones I dealt with back then were decent. But that's 20 years ago. So, and I don't know if our other UK residents, Mr. Jones and Rambling Geek, have been near recruitment companies recently. But this is the application one last time. Okay, this one I'm bringing up. What is that? Fair, there's one that keeps contacting me despite me telling them not to, or twice already. They contact me like nothing's happened. Ah, it's a UK company as well. Okay. Never used any recruiters. There's a language called Brain via LinkedIn by any chance. They directly emailing you, messaging you. I mean, I would, if it's a larger company, I'd contact them without the recruiter and say, leave me alone. Remove me from your book, sort of thing. It is funny, I put my LinkedIn as looking, and this is the first time in a long time that I haven't had recruiters just spamming me. Like, I've had it active now for 6 months, and I haven't had a single recruiter reach out. Other than the automated spam stuff. But there's no actual recruiters have reached out. It's amusing. So what I'm trying to do here, account ID, is that because the market is bad right now? I don't think it is, I don't think it's too bad. I think there's plenty of jobs out there. We need account. Join a in context accounts on, yeah, a dot name. I could do this slightly differently, couldn't I? I don't like messing with group syntax. I just mess around with it all the time. Wow. Group new, GMPA by new. Group. New. Group equals G. Account equals A. References equals P. By. What I'm going to say is paraphrased, but the truth is still here there. Hey, do you want to leave your secure, guaranteed full-time job for a 6-month contract in Switzerland with no possibility of extension? I'm an engineer, and I know the market for my field of engineering is booming right now. Not sure how the software field is doing, but I can't imagine that's much different. Fluent syntax feels wrong, but I'm so used to the fluent syntax. Yeah, I kind of like using LINQ. But the problem, when it comes to group bys and stuff, I think it's a shaping thing, right? My brain can never figure out what is the right shape, so I end up just kind of tinkering with it until I get the right result, and avoiding it at all possible turns if I can. What I'm trying to do here is I want to group by g.id into group, and then from group bys are complicated no matter what, especially when you start nesting them. Yeah. Group in group. What don't you like about G in group? G.account the ID. What's not allowed? Okay, so that's what it's suggested, which looks exactly what I want, right? G.first, close to what I want. That's a pairing of group, account, and preferences. But if I tab, oh no, now it's doing it. I mean, it's wrong, but it's doing it. G.group.id, G.group.name. From M and G. No, because that's... There's many of them. That's the problem. Int. My grouping's wrong. By group ID. Copilot was close. Don't need that there right this second. We can worry about that afterwards. Group, new group, GAP. The problem is I want many of these for one of these. So again, like I said, I can't visualize the shape of what I'm trying to do, which is always the problem with my grouping. So I know what I'm aiming for, but I can't visualize how to achieve that quickly in the group by. So group new. That's... Why doesn't it have a key? From has to be... No, you can actually... So, again, I'm changing the shape of the data and then I can loop through the data. Morning, by the way, Dota. So this is possible. I've just got to get my brain around, this is the piece that's wrong. And then I should be able to loop through. So what I'm trying to do is say, okay, well, now loop through and get the actual... because the query that it was suggesting before kind of was correct in that should be kind of first, because this should be a collection of values. I've just got to get the shape right. And I don't use this. I do not use group bys very frequently, so I've never really practiced using them either. Yeah. Link group by. And it is one where this syntax, I think it actually might read a little easier than the actual link syntax. No, group by is, so from P in persons group P.car by person ID into G. New, see, G is a list there of persons, of cars. So do I do... Do I just do that by new and then let's just try. Hi Disco, how you doing? Welcome in. Hope you're well. So yeah, Delta. Basically, the initial select is then shaped by the group by, and then I can select from the group. So I'm now from G in group. Yeah, that's how that's meant to work. I know what I'm meant to try and do, but I don't know how to do it exactly. So, so then, ID equals G dot, should be a key. Into G dot key. Oh, group dot key, that's why. Name equals group dot key dot name dot ID. So group is the key, yeah. And then, because that's iterating. Yeah, and then members is that, but then we can move that back into no count. So what happens if I do? Let's try and move that out. So that in theory works. So the problem is with working with LINQ, right? You can build a lovely query and it kind of looks right, but then the moment, and this is why you can't necessarily trust, if you're doing testing with databases, right? If you're trying to do unit testing and you use the in-memory provider for entity framework, this might work. But then the moment I move it to SQL and I actually do an integration test, it breaks because the translation is very different, right? This might be possible when working with lists of objects, but one of these things might not translate to SQL, and that's a problem, right? This should work because this is a lookup. It should resolve this as a value and kind of use it as a parameter. Well, the problem is that every SQL is going to be different, right? So the translation to even between SQL Server versions, the translation of LINQ is very different, right? I have a meeting in 4 minutes. Be right back. No worries, Decidius. Thank you very much. Yeah. SQLite is what we're using here for this, but just for convenience. But yeah. Yeah. So different versions of SQL Server can actually yield different queries as well. So that's why Entity Framework's kind of good because most ORMs will do this, right? So if you are actually pointing at SQL Server 2015 and then SQL Server 2022, the possibilities for that query statement might actually be quite different. There's different syntax available. There's different features. So it will build slightly different queries. And it's why you can't actually, if you have a cluster of databases, you can't actually point Entity Framework at, once you've built it, to different actual SQL databases. You have to keep it on the same version. It can be kind of temperamental. Yeah, the DB is abstracted. Okay, so I think it's list my groups here. That's like if I use Postgres in memory, it will build different queries. Yeah, it will build different queries because it's oh, dang. The LINQ expression DB group. Go on, tell me it can't be translated. Could not be translated. Either rewrite the query in a form that can be translated or switch to a client. Oh, hold on, that might not actually be a problem. That might be because I'm doing that nested query. It works differently in EF now. Yes, that's the goal, right? You could actually switch between database implementations and the query will work the same. Or it'll translate to that. But you can't do it at runtime. You have to do it at startup because it knows which database it's connected to and figures out any optimizations. Okay. No. The link expression. What don't you like? Could not be translated either. Rewrite the query in a form that can be translated or switch to a client evaluation explicitly by inserting a call to as enumerable. They're saying they group by. No. What's it actually saying? Join, group by, select many. It's not actually telling me what can't be translated there, is it? So I could run my unit test through Postgre in memory, and my real DB could use SQL Server. Yeah. But again, anytime you use it, so anytime using an actual database, it is more of an integration test because you're actually hooking up a real system, right? The unit test kind of remains. So yeah. But I think you have to do that if you're doing database stuff. It'll be faster, yeah. And that's why I kind of like using where is it? So for the mediator outbot stuff, right? I created the SQL Server tests, and this uses the test containers. So what happens here is I actually start a new SQL Server, and then everything looks right. I configure my application the same way, and then it disposes of the container when it's finished, but it's all running against an actual SQL database. So this actually does the migration because I've set it up to do the migration, obviously. When I do that, I run the migration to build the data schema, and then I test to see if it works, and yeah. So the test containers are something I will lean more into from an integration testing perspective, for certain, because this is a very useful tool for testing. Because again, if you're building something like this and you're unit testing it and giving it the data, it might work every single time. But the moment you actually need to test it against SQL Server, you don't want to be, if you can avoid it being on your development machine, actually running it through SQL Server will test it more. So yeah, I'd recommend checking this out, test containers, because it is and we'll definitely get into more of. Also, apologies for the giant white screen that popped up in the middle of the dark screen, but yeah, we'll definitely get more into that, especially with the main project. Okay, so this is not working. So let's figure out what's not working. Members equals from M in group, going P in context preferences on, yeah, select new. I questioned using linked syntax over fluent syntax too. I like linked syntax, but the more complicated the query gets, the less I like it. Like this query is not something that I like writing. This is a small query. I mean, I've seen 200-line link queries, which hurts my brain, by the way. In the end, whatever yeah, I mean, that's the key. I guess there are arguments against using an ORM, and it'd be hard to have those arguments with link. I think whether you go with something like Dapper or Entity Framework, using an ORM is just kind of smart. Dapper obviously gets out of the way. Some companies really dislike link syntax, though. Just FYI. Oh yeah. I've been in groups that don't like link syntax, and I get the argument for it, but it's But I wonder if that's more people being afraid than it is, or like struggling, like I am right now, right? If they've come up against this, like, oh, I hate that syntax. It never works. Well, for me, this is just, I got to figure this out, right? Let's go figure out where I'm going wrong. Now, what I could do here is break this out as the main query, to list that and do all this in memory, because what I'm doing right now doesn't really require that much heavy lifting. It'd be nice to do it in SQL. It's also about standardizing on something, though. That's my other worry. Having everyone in the team use the same language for querying. So I get the idea past the tech quality guys, the group has to buy in as well, and we aren't pairing, which would make it way easier. Yeah. That's always a challenge, right? The consistency in your organization. And you're right, Thendel. What matters most is that you're standardizing as a group. But the problem with link is when it's like, well, I kind of need to do this. Oh, well, it reads better this way. Yeah. On the extreme other side, you could do DB context execute SQL versus link syntax versus Fluent. If I was going to do SQL, if I was actually going to do straight up SQL, I'd just use Dapper. I pull Dapper in. If you're gonna do that, you might as well use something that's been tested that way as well. Yeah, I have a couple of store procs in the main project that I really don't want to do, but I don't see any way of doing them in Link right this second. There are where is it? Tenant management, I believe. Application tenants. Be in the context. Where did I put them? Here we go. Cursors are a pain, absolutely. So I have this search for tenant. The problem is what I do is I actually kind of manipulate the data and condense them and do a what do? I hash them of some form to try and get a comparison for the name, and I couldn't figure out how to do that in Link. I'm like, I'm not messing with that. I'll just do it in the store proc and deal with it. I do not like using store procs. The problem for me is this logic is inside my database, right? So I have to maintain that. Yeah, I have a team exists in the same way. But yeah, I do a hash bytes of that and remove non-alphas and stuff. So this is kind of messy, but it does it faster than anything I can think of to do in a EF. But this is something I would like to review. Okay, what is my actual use case there? Right, what am I actually achieving, and can I do it differently? Yeah, triggers and store procs are, tread carefully, it's not as bad as DB triggers. So I've worked in a database that had thousands of store procedures and hundreds of triggers. And yeah, maintaining that is not easy. And Red config the DB to build his views for the user. It was horrible, especially grading after customization. Yeah, it's one thing you got to be careful. You do I gotta head to work. Good luck all. Delta, thank you very much for the conversation. As always, thank you. And have a great day at work. We do things to be clever. And think we're being flexible, and we often end up in a world of pain later. Sometimes it's just getting the job done and doing it quickly, and then just kind of doing the easiest thing. So throwing things in stored procedures might be the easiest thing, especially when it comes to logic. And again, this is why I wonder, when people say, oh, like you said, some organizations just say no linked syntax. And my concern there is that it's because they've struggled and decided to go a different route, because they've never taken the time to try and get to grips with this. For me, I just need to practice more of this, right? So this is not, my concern was that maybe this was doing something, but it's not. Very simply, this isn't working. Hey, Copper Beardy, how you doing? Hope you're well. So, for anyone new to the stream, if you're just joining, you're more than welcome to ask questions, contribute if you want to. This project is all about contribution and discussion. So this discussion about Entity Framework and this is all on topic. The aim of the stream is not to necessarily have me just write all the code, is to kind of grow and learn. In this case, I think I'm about to learn some painful lessons with group by. Okay, so we got to peel this back to its simplest form. So let's comment that out. And actually, let's do this. Let's do group. Actually, let's include the group into group. Select group. Let's run that and see what that was like. I really need to put that breakpoint in there. Results. Oh, you really don't like that. Group could not be translated. Additional information. Translation of select, which contains grouping parameter without composition, is not supported. Translation of select, which contains grouping parameter without composition. Oh, man. I've chosen not to turn my key light on today, so that was particularly bright even for my eyes, so I apologize. The challenge when you're looking at Entity Framework, by the way, is finding the right version of Entity Framework and finding the one where they've not made any changes, because between versions, they can make some quite drastic changes. Consider to rewrite your query until this bug is fixed. So, from comment responses, group responses by, into response group, latest comment. Just build all the grouping queries separately. Okay, so that might be select new. I think this is the problem here. ID equals group dot key dot ID, name equals group dot key dot name. Let's go with that. We'll see what happens now. There we go. We have two groups. I gotta go lurky for a bit. Lindell, thank you very much for hanging out. Thank you for the lurk. Okay. Okay, so we have a group. Let's have a look at members. Members equals from G, from M in G in group. Select new, name equals m dot count dot name as enumerable. So all I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to build up on it to try and understand where it breaks. Unfortunately, it's a bit of guesswork because, again, I'm not very well practiced in the group by. So if you're seeing this and thinking, see a problem, you're more than welcome to contribute. Okay, so that actually works. Okay, so we have, yeah, that's correct. We have two members in this one. Two members in that one. Okay, so let's expand. So join P in. Okay, is that my problem? Target equals m dot p dot fluid analysis. Just to make sure I'm pulling a field from that table, so it doesn't optimize the join out and say, well, you don't need it because you're not using anything from it. This as enumerable should function there. Let's have a look. Results. Okay. Members. There's our. Okay, so. So this didn't work. Oh. I'm not doing from G in group. This auto expands. Okay. So let's take the full thing then. All in. So the actual challenge, the actual problem there might be that I was trying to iterate through the group when it already has that kind of. Nope, there you go. What don't you like? The link expression could not be translated. Oh, it's a time zone ID stuff. If this method can be mapped to your custom function, time zone ID at current date could not be translated. Oh, hold on. Is that building that out? It looks like it's trying to translate that, so it might actually be trying to join that in. I don't think that does the same thing, but let's see. Results. Yeah. Let's just list that and see. Just to be sure. Because I'm wondering if it's actually trying to join that in, because it looked like it was trying to. Nope. Still wrong. DB set. Time zone edit. Yeah, it still looks like it's trying to do the conversion though. Get item. Translation of method dictionary. Either rewrite the query in a form that can be translated or switch to client evaluation. But I'm passing it the dictionary. My understanding was it would actually allow that because I've got a dictionary of data. No, that's the same query over and over again. That's most frustrating. I mean, it's a different error than we're originally getting. That's a good sign. But because it's going to. Oh, let's review that again. It's a nested query. Oh, it's a nested query. Let's see what that gives me. It's a nested query. You've got to enumerate every nested query in the latest version. That might actually be the problem. Nope, it doesn't like it. Oh, same problem. So it's the lookup that it's causing a challenge for now. Can I rewrite that in any way, shape, or form? It's that. That's the actual problem, isn't it? I don't think. Do we do that in query right now? Okay, so I don't think that's the problem. I think that ToDictionary does exactly that enumeration, which is right. What I'm trying to determine is, okay, so this is actually a query already, right? So we definitely do this already in the in the code. I mean, we don't do any date time stuff. We don't do inside of here, but that's okay. Yeah, but that's essentially that query, right? So we do that in the database right now. There's no reason to believe that won't work. I mean, that can move to there. That's not going to make any difference. And again, this is because for each user, that time zone could be slightly different. So we do need to offset it for each user based upon their preferences to what we're looking at now. Because if I run this at 11 p.m. my time, in the UK it's 4 a.m. So I'm looking at water consumption for, 11 p.m. on the 30th of April. And for you, in the UK, it'd be 4 a.m. on May 1st. Right? May 1st. Yes. I had a moment then of, okay, yeah, May 1st. Sorry. What do I do? I believe it is this causing the problem here. As enumerable. That's this query. And I'm taking the sum. It's 100% the problem, right? So we run this. Yeah. 100% the problem. Let's try and build it up, right? So let's do context.logs.where L goes to L dot user ID equals m dot account ID dot sum x goes to x dot fluid analysis. Whoops. Remove my breakpoint. That's the original query. So all I've done here is I've added an extra query. And so this is the results that I want. This progress should come out with the calculated value, right? That's the goal. So that clearly didn't fail. So that will sum my fluid ounces quite correctly. That's close. So we know the nested query isn't a problem, right? Mixing the syntax just for good measure. Now let time zone info let what do they call it? Datetime info. Datetime info equals time zone lookup p.time zone ID. And that's going to be current date equals datetime info dot current date. That. Maybe I have to break these out, I don't know, but we've got to build upon this. So I could split, at this point I've got enough, I mean, we're not talking about thousands and thousands of records, right? So there's no reason that I couldn't break this out into memory and start working with it, right? So I could use this as an interim object to get me the data I need and then translate that into my final object or transform into my final object. There's no harm in doing it that way. But if you were building this for real, you'd kind of want, right? So the lookup works fine. So maybe we break them out as variables. So let's do let current date that and let time zone offset hours equals that. So again, we're going to do, we need the where to use that, right? So and L dot consumed on And then we do add hours. All the consumed is done with the UTC, right? So that's why I'm adding this in. Time zone offset hours equals current date. So what I'm trying to do here is build it out bit by bit by bit. Stranhorn, good morning. How are you doing? This is going to break. Why don't you like doing that nested? Let's see if... so that's add hours, becomes a date, time. Just want to do something different there. Really good. Nice. Results. Yeah. Translation of method collections. So once it goes to try and make that into... So it doesn't have an issue with pulling the value out, but the moment it tries to make it into an actual query, it has an issue with it. So it's this that's causing that problem, right? Because it's this lookup. That's infuriating. Because if I do... So basically, if I do this... if I do... The problem is I can't do progress there. If I do current date equals current date and time zone offset hours equals right, that'll work fine. So there's no issue with mapping that and giving me the data. Right, so we've got the current date and current date. Copper Beardy, thank you very much for the Prime sub. Very much appreciate that. Thank you. So she's determined to send me crazy. And the beauty of this is, if you're watching this and thinking, I could do this way better, you have the opportunities. Because I will push the code and you'll be able to tinker with it. So what I'm trying not to do is create one query to get certain piece of data and then create another query to pull that data and manipulate it in memory. That's all I'm trying to avoid here. But it will not let me use these in a query, right? Progress equals from L in context dot consumption dot logs where L dot user ID equals m dot account ID dot ID and current date is not null. Select dot sum. Equal to date time dot. What's today versus? Value. Let's see if it allows that at all. I just want to see if it'll allow me to manipulate that date in any way, shape, or form. I think it's going to break still, and if I remove the breakpoint, it's going to be even weirder. So, okay, so let's run that. Results. Yeah, it's just going to break the moment I try and use that value. Could not be translated. Translation of method, generic dictionary. So it is as if this is not being. I don't believe that works exactly the same. Translation of method, data and get. Join L in time zone lookup. Why don't you like that? That'd be interesting. Oh. No. Don't like that. There's no way that's going to work. Just wondering if it'll translate it any differently, right? Because again, the different way you build the objects in Link can make all the difference. So if I'm building it, if I'm constructing it in a different way, I don't expect it to behave differently. Nah. Does it give me a different error though? It does give me a different error. What if I change that though? I don't need the dictionary. If I do, so the only reason I use a dictionary here is, so if I do select and I do that, do time zone ID equals, okay, that time zone ID. Right, and then I join on that. Does that behave differently? So yeah, I'm guessing absolutely here. I really wish I had such deep knowledge of how LINQ is constructed in SQL to the point where this is easy, but it's not. Okay, so that yielded the same problem. Inner join could not be translated. Either rewrite the query in a form that can be translated or switch to a client evaluation explicit by inserting a call to as enumerable. Hold on. Let's make sure that's not causing the problem, because you do have to do that on nested queries and all that. That'll enumerate that and sum it outside in memory. But so again, I don't expect an outcome different, but I want to see if the error changes. Join. Oh, it's the join that is actually looking like it's having issues with, right? But that's not. I'm just kind of pushing and pulling. I'm trying to learn what's allowed, what it's expecting me to do. I don't understand enough of the error to go and look up something in Google, right? So what am I actually chasing here? The link. So again, we changed it again. Oh, we changed it for a different reason. Could not be translated. Translation of method time zone info failed. So that changed it because it pulled this in. So if I list that, it'll push it back in the other way, because now it can't pull in that list of objects into a query. So I'd have to have my query broken out to a list of objects first. So yeah, so this will push it back the other way now, right? Yeah. So the problem is, and I thought you could do this. I could have sworn you could do this, because, I mean, this is a list of objects now, right? Because I've actually listed it. When it was as enumerable, it couldn't translate these pieces into LINQ syntax, because it wasn't actually enumerating this. It was actually just compiling it into a statement that was then switched out here for kind of the join. So the join was on essentially a nested table. But then it can't translate these methods into SQL syntax. So that's why that broke. Now when I push it back and I put that as two lists, so now I've got a list of actual objects, right? It can't translate, it can't pull this in. It can't use it. So the only real answer I have then is to what happens if I do from as enumerable dot select just for the purpose of learning. So I apologize for what I'm about to write. From R in that R.timezone.id select new progress equals Problem is, again, that now I've got object to back to SQL syntax. That's just going to be horrendous. Oh, no, what did you do? Oh, I need the target. And then this can be r dot. If this even remotely works, I'd be amazed. But the attempt there is to basically get the inner list enumerated so that technically I'm not in. This will happen when it's actually converting when it's actually getting the results. And then, but the problem is I'm joining extra databases in there. So my concern is that extra database calls. So I don't think this is avoidable. Yeah, different problems, same issues. Time zone lookup cannot be translated. Either rewrite the query. Create expression memberships accounts where. So as much as I want to fix it, can't really do that. That'll be horrendous. So the reason it's squiggling this is because obviously this is captured up here, right? And by the time this is being called, that may have gone out of scope. So that's why you need the as enumerable to make sure that it will enumerate at the same time as the query enumerates. Otherwise, if you leave the as enumerable off, the way that LINQ works is when you go to enumerate, you'll get this outer result, but unless you ask for this, it won't enumerate this, right? So the intention is that you call the as enumerable to enumerate this result as you build the outer result. So this is what this is calling, because otherwise this could actually be disposed, because if I return results as an iQueryable and then come back and dispose of try and request this members without this as enumerable, which this doesn't know about, this will have gone out of scope and it will crash, right? So the idea is that you kind of say, okay, when you enumerate it, it will actually pull it all together at once under the same context. So that's why you have to list before returning here. Otherwise this context has gone out of scope. So I keep somehow managing to remove that breakpoint. So I'm not winning. I'm trying to fight a fight that I'm not equipped for here. Again, this is exactly why I'm doing this, right? I'm trying to learn. But writing big, complicated LINQ statements is not helping the cause here, right? It's making this harder and less. Okay, I don't need the logs. Let's pull the logs away. Let's get back to using this. Let's remove all that. Right. And now let's do So we should have, let's make sure I've got something working. Pardon me. So we have members, we have the time zone ID, we have the target fluid ounces. So we have the information we need to calculate everything else, right? So we've got a list of a time zone lookup, which again, we can worry about afterwards. And then we go and gather the core data. But now we need to enumerate that, and for each member, go and apply an extra piece of information, which is what feels really horrible here. But at least all this is done in SQL, right? All this is pulled out of SQL. This is pulled out of SQL, then enumerated. So 1, 2, and then this third thing is just going to be a transform, right? And it's all going to be, it's not going to all be in memory because we need the SQL for the logs, right? So this is not results. This is groups with members, and then var results equals from is it? I was watching Michael Jolly's video yesterday on Bobby the Builder, sorry. To be more accurate. Which one was it? Ironically, the first video that comes up in my list is should link be banned from C#. Where was it? Oh, it is this one. So he was discussing the var, right? And he goes, and I'm very guilty of this, don't name your thing results. I do it all the time. Normally, I mean, it's within the context of this, so the results are what I'm actually after, and I refer to it as results. But again, naming something meaningful here means that this isn't as bad. So I get the argument there. Groups for members doesn't really help me either. But yeah, it was kind of amusing. So from G, now the problem here is now I should have all these values resolved at this point, so I shouldn't actually have to look very much up, but let's find out. I bet this is going to fail in the same way. L in context.logs, where l.account, l.user ID equals m.id, and yeah, select l.loadounces.sum. I don't want a calculation right now. I just want to validate that that'll work as enumerable sum. Right. So I want to see. Right. Because I think it's still going to balk on that, and that's the problem. I can't get enough information here, so the only other option I have is to pull logs out as a collection. But we've had this working, which is the frustrating thing. So if I can get the value without the actual lookup, then I'll be fine. And in the normal context, we're using it in the case of the user, so we only have one value. We've already calculated those values. Here we're looking them up. Oh, Progress 0. So there are no rows. That's okay. What we'll do is we'll go and test that we add one and it increases. So we do have, so we have that, that's working. So now let's get the calculation in there. So fluid ounces annual sum. Yep. So that shouldn't make any difference because, again, we've already got the target. So that's just, this was the crux of it, right? And again, this is in memory now. This is not in database. So this database lookup here isn't being, it's not being flipped. This isn't being put into the database. Yeah, it is. That'll be a SQL statement that looks like that. Select fluid ounces from logs, or some. Well, actually, no. Select fluid ounces. This will pull back all the records and sum it here. That's not ideal. Let's make it do that in the database. Because if I enumerate it, what that'll do is it'll pull back, and I can look at the SQL that's generated afterwards. But if I enumerate it, it'll pull back all the records and do the sum in memory on the machine. Whereas if I run the and again, I'm working with a SQLite database. I'm working on the machine anyway. But there's a slight difference in how it's going to behave. Whoa, members, results. There you go. Okay, so really what I want to test now is if I start the app up, that should do. Localhost, what is it? 7077. Localhost 7077. Start the application up. Test that nowhere. Morning, Napalm. How are you doing? So, as our friends groups log 24 ounces. Okay, friends. Now we go in here. Our results should have a calculated percentage. Members. The problem is that's not enumerating. That's kind of worrying. Pretty good. It's just getting started. Still time to change. Well, let's hope it doesn't change for the negative. Okay, so that's not working. Because I've logged something, so I should have a percentage, right? And also that should enumerate. And it's evaluating. Ah, here we go. I don't think I realized you use Writer. Nice, I prefer it these days. It is definitely my preferred ID at this point. Oh, my token changed. That's why I logged in over here. So my token changed. List my groups. There you go. That's healthier. Still not enumerating that. It's still not doing what it should do though. So context logs, date, time, current date. So if I look at logs, right, we have a log for today of 24 ounces. 24 seems to be my favorite number to type. That should get pulled through. This is one of those challenges with Link, is debugging this is an absolute nightmare. You know, I can't easily debug into this. So, but let's try. Let's see if it'll let me step through any of it. It might let me step through the members and see. But in all likelihood, no. Let's see. Nah. Yeah, it's not really helpful, right? So I've got family, but I can't step down into this. That's the challenge. Let's see if it'll let me do it. Nah. So debugging that is an absolute nightmare. So it's not coming back with... So let's figure out what it is coming back with. So let's do that. Because percentage calculations will often trip me up. So we're going to sum the logs for the consumed data. So this should, right? And we can actually output that. So let's do... No, I can't do that one, but we can do that. So current date equals t.current date, and offset hours equals t dot times 1 offset hours. So we can at least see the information. So tomorrow's stream, I have to end slightly early, as I have a doctor's appointment. So I got to remember that tomorrow, because I get carried away with this stuff. Okay, so there we go. So we have progress is 24. So it does know there's 24 there. So my calculation is just there. So int from that divided by float m dot target fluid ounces times 100. Yeah, that's right. That moment when you doubt yourself. Consumption service. So, double. Yeah, okay. So, int double I always get tripped up on that because what it will do is it will treat the fluid ounces as an integer, and then the division won't. It'll kind of resolve out to 0, and it creates an issue. So I always get tripped up on it, and I have to remind myself how that works. Progress 9. There we go. Progress 0. Okay, so there we go. There's 9%. Finally. So now this should be an object. So we need a result object, which is kind of what this is. Now this is a repository. So the question, so this shouldn't be returning view models. My service is meant to return the view models. So, but again, my repository, that method is horrible. It's bugging me. We can remove them. So what is this model? For right this second, I'm going to create an interim object, a DTO, essentially. Group result. Right. And again, this is why we're doing this project, right? This is why we're doing it the way we're doing it, is so that we can discuss these things, talk about where they should live. I don't want to return a view model in my data layer. That's not the job of the data layer, but I do need a kind of translated model. So should I move that behavior into my service layer, and then just, because the data layer should then be just all data objects, in which case this query kind of does move inside of my service, my application layer, my services, and is not then and member result is nested fine, because again, this group service technically does the translation anyway, right? So what I'm trying to avoid, so here's the current query, and I take a new group view model from here, so I'm going to translate this anyway, right? I need the code. Get groups. Get our group memberships. But again, this is not meant as a best practice application. This is meant as a, okay, so what can we do? Right? What should the design be? What fits for everybody? Right? How would you do it differently? So you're more than welcome. I will commit this code because it's going to work. I just want to get this one last hump over with. Code equals group. So there I'm not grouping by. That's a challenge. Group equals G. Code equals. No, I can't do it that way, can you? Because then that's the associated group of the collection. So if I had the group down there, g.code. Code equals group.key.code. You kind of just, this is fine to group by. And then code equals g.code. And then our result object, which we can, again, discuss. Always open to opinions. This keeps getting more complicated. I'm not going to finish this. There's way more to do. I am, however, going to commit it, because then if anyone is interested in looking at how this is going to work, you're more than welcome to go and take a look at this group membership query. The problem is that there's more information, right? I have to do a lot more here. So what should this actually be? If this is a group result, right, and this repository returns a group result, so this is a new group result, right, and the ID is that code equals select new group result dot member result, right? That's great and all, and it kind of works. But it doesn't give me everything I need, and now I've got to keep adding more information in there, and it gets messier and messier because this group is unnecessary now, right? Now what I could do, being that I know how I'm going to do it anyway, is I could do it this way and join group in context.groups, and then I can do group.name, group.code, owner ID. That gives me more information now. But I'm just kind of piling on there. I'm not really adding value. Groups. So we remove that now. And then this would be, this is not that, this is members. G.members. So this is now G.members. Select m.id, m.name, m.progress, and then this would be m.id, right? So the group owner. Oh no, cannot access a disposed instance. So now, because I'm referencing it outside of the method, well, but in the method, it's been working fine when I've enumerated it. But now it's causing me issues. Cannot access a disposed context instance, a common cause of this error. So this is now gone out of scope, but because I'm using it in this nested object query, it's not kind of working the way I want it to work. This one's fine. This one's not fine. So no amount of enumerables is going to help me here. Most frustrating. So this is the few challenges with this, right? The groups with members doesn't really give much information there. Results is what? It's a transform, right? A transform of the final form of this. I don't think if I to-list that is going to do me much good, because I think it's just it's nesting too late. We're to-listing this, which I'll put. Actually, I'll make it more obvious. Right. So this is an actual enumerated list. That should enumerate that fine. So the challenge I'm chasing down now is obviously it's holding on to the context, or it's needing the context open and it's crashing because it's cannot access the disposed context. So this member result here is getting enumerated later, and it shouldn't be. It should be enumerated now, because I'm to-listing this result. But it's actually holding on to this. So this to-list is happening on the outer object. It's being passed back to the calling method. And then when I go to get the members, it's calling in here and saying, oh, well, now this context has well gone away, so I can't access it. And it's this part it's complaining on, so it's this nested, right? Let's do join L into logs from L in logs. When you do into logs, it will give you another list, but I don't think that's going to solve my problem. Oh, it didn't work. Look at that finger beauty query though. Select from, select as T, left join as order by. That's a thing of beauty, that one. But no, I don't actually believe that. Select ID code, date added name, owner ID from group says G. So where is that pulling? It's run many queries that. So it didn't work, but it didn't fail. So let's have a look. Let's see if once more. Kind of determined to get through this right now. So we have a group result. We have members. It's still crashing. It's just it's hiding the crash. So moving that up as a nested collection is not really giving me what I wanted to do, but that won't change anything. Yeah, it's still the same problem. Okay, well I'm gonna push this branch. The challenge we're trying to actually solve is pulling the actual progress for each user in the group. Now, the biggest mess with this is the fact that what I'd like to do is get all the members' progress. Maybe I do that first. Maybe I break the members' progress out as an individual thing, because if a member exists in multiple groups, this is going to calculate it for every single group, which is not exactly efficient. So maybe I need to go and get all the list of members and then go and get the groups they're with and kind of flip the query a little bit, because then I'm not going to repeat effort. But that slight performance, that could be a slight performance improvement as well, because if I have the same member in 3 groups and that happens across the entire database, in many users, then I'm running a query 3 times per, whereas I could use it once and then kind of group by that data later. So I could get the list of distinct members, build that query, that data up for each member, and then reapply it to the groups. So I could kind of flip this on its head. So the code is there if you are interested. The project is available. That branch is there. You're more than welcome to check it out. But for right now, I'm going to call it a day. I've overrun by quite a significant amount today. Copperbeardy, thank you very much for coming and hanging out. Thank you very much for the Prime sub. I really do appreciate that. It's awesome. I do hope you're well. And let's go see Canny. Canny is developing a game, a space simulator game. He's a very friendly streamer, a really great guy, and I love going and hanging out in his stream. Bit of a different pace from mine, but yeah. So let's go over there, and I will be back tomorrow with some Agile Project Platform stuff. So thank you all for joining, and take care. I'll see you tomorrow.